had to do a little research about the biggest birds in your type of the country so that I can compare people's eyewitness reports with the size of the birds in your state. And I found out that the biggest birds in West Virginia, they're swans, turkeys, white pelicans, geese, bald eagles, golden eagles, great blue herons, and then snowy owls, maybe at the 10th place, but not at the wingspan does not match the description of Kristen's family, the size of this all, or just any other birds that they were seeing. I was like, okay, there's something to that. And then you guys transfer the story, well, cross-reference the story with your local legend about the Mothman, and you mentioned the book written by John Keel, sorry, who is not a man of God, but still, even Dr. Heiser, I think that he recommended his book because, I mean, let's be honest, you don't have to be a man of God to have a quality research work. And that makes me want to rewatch the old movie made a couple decades ago with Richard Gere. I want to see that movie again. But basically, in this local legend that is coming from your part of the states, which now I believe is not just a legend. I believe there is more to that. But John Keel explains, well, he summarizes there are actually three types of phenomena when it comes to the Mothman. He says that one is the wingman, the second is a giant bird, and third is a monstrous demon with red eyes and bat's wings. And then he says that all three are probably interrelated. So it's probably one being with all these characteristics. And eyewitness reports describe Mothman as a bird-like creature that does not flap its wings, and his eyes glow red with and that if you stare in his or its eyes, it can cause some sort of radiation, burning sensation. And I also like how in one case, when a man of faith or a woman of faith commanded this Mothman kind of creature-like demon to flee because it was in their house, this entity had to flee in the name of Jesus. In your research, what did you come up with? I mean, you can talk probably 4 hours when it comes to Mothman, but what did you come up when it comes to the Mothman and the relationship with all these huge owls that Christina and her family saw?
Yeah, so this is strange. I mean, all of it's strange, but yeah. So Keel associated, and he has several stories in his book of people witnessing large groups and very large birds. So large groups of birds and very large birds. And if you go look in Point Pleasant, there's a statue and there's also a Mothman museum. And so much of the artwork and witness, the stuff that's based on witness reports, as well as the like sort of popular artwork that's come from that Mothman flap in the intervening years, is very, very owl-like. In fact, it's one of the sort of rationalized answers for what people saw, if it's not something strange, is that they were misidentifying an owl. Which is interesting that owl imagery also, is associated with the Mothman flap. The other, this is, everything about this is convoluted, and I think it is that way by design. But the Shawnee chief Cornstalk was murdered by the colonials in the 1700s, about 200 years before the Silver Bridge collapsed in Point Pleasant. And the folklore reason for the Mothman's appearing in the collapse of the bridge is that Chief Cornstalk was supposed to have pronounced a curse with his dying breath as he and his son were being murdered. So the Shawnee, the question would arise, did the Shawnee have any kind of man-bird archetype or patron deity? As it turns out, they do. There was in Logan. So Logan is a few hours, maybe 2 hours from Point Pleasant, where the Mothman thing happened. Logan is where Kristen was, and sort of the events of Dark Holler mostly take place in that area. But Chief Cornstalk had a daughter who was named Ericoma. Ericoma was also the name of Logan, the town, prior to it being named Logan, because she apparently was there. And they found what they believed to be her remains, along with the remains of about 50 other native people buried in Logan. So Chief Cornstalk's daughter is buried in Logan with all of these other native remains. In fact, they had erected a hotel on the site, and it was called the Ericoma Hotel, and burned down in like the 20s. But when they found this burial site, they found that one of the children that was buried there had a marine shell gorget necklace with a depiction of a birdman on it. So the Shawnee, we know, at least had this imagery of this birdman thing. Cornstalk pronounces this curse. Now, 200 years post-curse, we have this birdman thing showing up as, and terrorizing the area. So it's it is strange. I mean, there's, again, you don't know how much of it you can say is cause and effect, and how mechanical you can view that cause and effect relationship, and how much you have to acknowledge that these things possibly play into or behave according to the folklore archetype that's there, in order to reinforce it, in order to lend more credence to it. But yeah, so, a lot of the similar phenomena that we heard reports of and saw with the flocks of vultures and the giant bird stuff was, it also seemed to accompany the Mothman flap. Make of that what you will.